It's New Year's Day, the day we're told to reset, recommit, set goals and go again. But in sport, it's rarely that simple.
Because for athletes, coaches, staff, volunteers, parents, the calendar doesn't always stop. Pre-season keeps rolling, competitions continue, and expectations don't just magically reset at midnight.
Interestingly, the second Friday in January is widely referred to as Quitter's Day. Statistically, the day most people abandon their New Year's resolutions. So today we're asking, what do New Year's resolutions really look like in sport? And how do you know whether this year is about pushing on or letting go? I think the first question, Laura, is does sport even allow this whole concept of a fresh start?
I think that's a really good question. I mean, depends on what level of the sport that you're playing at, don't you think?
Yeah, entirely.
If
Entirely.
you're in the middle of your career, it's probably not going to stop. you know?
Depending on the sport you play,
Yeah.
because New Year might just be mid-season,
Yeah, that's
you know,
right. Yeah.
and that's the summer winter sport model. It also it differs. If you're contractually bound, it's kind of I'm still rolling. This is no different for me. I think it goes back to our episode last week where we're talking a little bit about what does Christmas truly represent. And I think if Christmas is still part of the season, January probably is too. And January might actually be where liftoff takes place anyway,
Yeah.
because of, if even a day or two break during that December run or a Christmas season for athletes, sometimes a week, sometimes not nearly as much, but any break during that season when you're surrounded by lots of people who are taking much longer breaks and depth of rest, January probably does feel like you're launching into something anyway because you've stopped for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. I think even when we talk about all of the volunteers and the staff that go into making these games happen and working alongside these athletes in various capacities, often for them as well, it's the middle of their working season, so to speak. Really, the question that's kind of forming here is when do they get a break? When do the athletes get a break? When do the volunteers get a break? If it's not during the holiday period, when is it?
Yeah. This is week 2 of us asking the same question in different ways, is it not? I think it's the psychology behind New Year's I find interesting because I don't know about you, but I know personally there appears to be something that switches in you that says new calendar year, clean slate, new chances, new opportunities. Who am I in what will be 2026, right?
Yeah.
It is actually, if I can relate it to, that feeling the day after you get married and you're like, oh, wait, no, all of this is the same.
Yes, yes.
It's a little bit like that for me when the calendar turns to the 1st of January and you're like, oh, no, right. It's the same as yesterday, except for now it's 2026.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
you just get inundated with all this hope and with excessive amounts of motivation and and you're just thinking anything's kind of like that feeling, if we're going to go back with feelings, kind of like that feeling when you're a teenager and you feel like you're bulletproof a lot of the time, like, oh, I can jump off this ledge, I'll recover, and I can,
And then you
whatever it may be.
realize decades later that ledge was an issue and your knees no longer like anything associated with the choices you made.
That's right.
Decades.
Yeah. And I feel like the beginning of a new year is that kind of feeling where anything is possible. I kind of love it though.
Yeah. It's well, there's a boost in the air as well, right? Because
Yeah.
everyone's in it together. We're all doing the same thing. Whereas I think when you're starting, like for me, if you're starting a football season, you're all starting at different times. So depending on
Yeah.
what level you're playing, preseason might start months prior to the season's taking off. And as you get closer and closer to retirement, you're playing at different levels. Maybe you've got a longer off season, but even, a senior calendar is different to a junior calendar in
Yeah.
football, and you're all starting at different times. So the vibe or the buzz is quite contained. Whereas when we talk about the turning of a calendar into the new year, we're in it together. Like it is stay off social media. I mean, I don't know about where different people are, but from where I am, most of the time your phone has its own little twitch out because everyone's on their phone wishing everyone a happy new year and sharing all the content and all the reflections and, all of the vibes that they've wanted to share and post into what my 2026 is going to look like. I think there's this collective momentum that happens around New Year's. And I think that's what adds to the weight of decision making. Because suddenly what I've tolerated for however many years or however long this year, I'm not taking that with me in 2026. That is it. I'm not
Yeah.
doing that any and we see these firm boundaries get set. What do you reckon from an athlete's point of view though, is the expectation layer, or is it business as usual? Are they smarter than everyone else in terms of making these decisions around resolutions? I just want you to know, I don't make resolutions because I don't trust the process. But but if do you think athletes do? And does it depend on how much control they have, that athlete autonomy discussion we've had before? Someone else is probably making the decision of whether they're having a ramp up year or a slowdown year.
That's true. I mean, you raised a great point with the various season times, so it's going to be dependent on that. And
Mm,
decision makers like coaches and general managers of professional teams and all of these people in sort of the behind the scenes that put the teams together are going to be making decisions all the time. Is this player still performing at the level or performing the role that we need them to perform? I think that
mm,
those decisions are happening, primarily at the beginning of those sporting code seasons,
mm,
from that side. As far as more individual sports and sports where players do have a little bit more autonomy, I think for a lot of athletes, it becomes this way up of, am I starting my career? Am I at the middle of my career? Or am I heading towards the end of my sporting career? And that
mhm,
doesn't mean necessarily just professional sport, right? So this can
mhm,
be from amateurs all the way through. There's big decisions to make. How has my performance in this sport been over this past year? Can I maintain it for this upcoming year? Or am I headed towards the end of my time playing this sport at this level or continuing to try and build my level? Is that ceiling there or isn't it? And I think that that can be a very big question internally for a lot of players. But I think if we were looking at professional sport, like I said, the decisions a lot of the time would come down to the coaches and to the other people involved in, okay, are they on the team this year? Aren't they on the team this year? And this year is not necessarily restricted from calendar year as opposed to seasonal year.
yeah. And I think what you and I have learnt from our own time in sport, as well as the many, many conversations we've had, um, I it's not necessarily a calendar that defines when you're gonna finish either. You
Exactly.
know, it's not necessarily because we're turning the calendar to 2026 that this is probably it for me. Season ending, career ending, injury, incident, issue can take place without us realizing.
With that said, it's a great time to reflect regardless of where you are in your career with sport. It's a great time to reflect and weigh up those factors that aren't necessarily just sport based. What has
Yeah.
the impact been me playing this sport over the past year on my family?
Mhm,
What has that been on my impact to generate income to support
mhm,
myself in times past my sporting career? And I think there's a lot of
mhm.
other factors that athletes will be weighing up during that new year time because
Mm.
regardless of whether you set resolutions or not, it is a new year. It is
Yeah.
the start of something
Yeah.
new, and that being a new calendar year. And I think for the majority of people, that raises a lot of internal dialogue around where have I been, where am I now, and where am I going?
Yeah, I think it also generates hope. I think you
Yes.
come off the end of the Christmas season, which is hope-filled, and you're going into the new year with this expectation or motivation that is hope-based or promise-centered. What is the promise for me
Yeah.
of this new year? And like you say, irrespective of whether you're a resolutions person or you're not, I think you would be hard pressed to be exempt from that hope or promise kind of attachment that builds at this time of year.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, I think people are so hopeful that we overpromise to ourselves. I don't know about you, but I have made some really big calls in the New Year period. I'm not one to write down a list or anything like that, but I am one to be like, you know what, I'm going to do this, and then I'll just name something totally unrealistic and
Yeah,
unachievable as a short term goal, and think I'm doing this. Have you had
got
that
this. I'm gonna
experience?
crush it. Crush it. Do you know what I think happens is you're also, if like me, you think that this time of year is a rest time and pour into family, you're also so detached from the realities of
Yes.
your day to day that you're like, I can actually feel a little bit invincible at the moment. I can do
Yeah.
so many big and great things. And then all of your reality layers start to pour back in about a week or two later. No wonder. No wonder Quitters Day coincide with the second Friday in January, because by then you're back into the heat of real life and you're like, hold up a minute. I regret the things I said when things were quiet.
I remember the first time I heard that about Quitters Day, and all I could think was, "What is
Yeah.
Quitters Day?" And then knowing that Quitters Day being the second Friday in January after everyone has come back to reality, like you say, just made a world of sense. I thought, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'm guilty. I have done this time and time again." But you see through the Christmas and New Year period, gym memberships skyrocket.
Um,
People hit the tennis courts. They're joining this club, that club. All of a sudden, you've got everybody out doing everything that they've thought, oh, yeah, I could give this a crack. And
yeah. Because they've also got new equipment that they got for Christmas, Laura, and they
that's
need to use it.
but you spend the money as well. You know, those gym memberships are locked in contracts. Like, and then you can't get
Oh,
out of them for a year and you're trying to pass it off to your friend. And it's
well, you certainly can't get out of them on the second Friday in January,
no,
that's for sure.
that's right. Exactly.
It's so good. It's so true though. And the reality is we go in hard and most people do, whether it's a fitness goal or whatever it is. And you know, we're seeing more and more, and maybe it's age based for me, but seeing more and more people who are taking quite the opposite approach actually to say, I'm going to be more conscious of my slowing down
Mm,
in this season. I'm not going to sprint at this pace. I'm not going to hustle like that. I'm not going to do this job
yeah.
and that job and all of those things in between. Whatever it is that you genuinely believe you can do throughout the year, there's a reason why you couldn't do it last year.
Yeah.
And unless you've changed a number of things and stripped those away, those reasons probably still exist in your day to day calendar when it's not Christmas time.
That's a good point. We're not saying
Yeah.
don't do these things. We're just saying put some plans and steps that
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
achievable in place
Yeah.
so that you'll get there. You know, let's
Yeah.
not say in January you're coming from a sporting career, you're suddenly going to be an astronaut fully qualified in like May. It's probably not going to happen. Like, let's some
Well,
realistic.
well, except for the types who are thinking there's going to be a loophole. There has to be a way, Laura. And therein lies the trap for athletes who are contemplating what New Year's needs to look like for them. And it's this too much too soon
Yes.
mindset. I'm
Yeah.
going all in, I'm doing it all at once. And lo and behold, oh, my good friend burnout has arrived. And therefore, make it through second Friday of January. My quitting day will be a little while later, but it's coming for me because I went
Yeah.
too hard.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's even if you make it past that time frame, the second Friday in January. It sounds so quick to New Year's, doesn't it? Second Friday in January.
No.
But 80% of New Year's resolutions fail by mid-February.
Yeah.
And so that's a huge number. We all just need to
Yeah.
get better at planning. That's our New Year's resolution. Let's get better.
I'm going to put it down. Yeah, no. I think you're right. But also, you mentioned mid-February. I'm just going to put that down to that's when people realize they're in love and none of it matters because it's Valentine's
Yeah.
Day. So you
Yeah.
know what? You can be in the too much too soon for 6 weeks and then fall in love and it doesn't matter anymore. We can move on. But if we're honest with ourselves, the reality of quitting is actually where there's that intention and truth collision. Like I intended to do X, Y, and Z, and I gave everything to believing that that could be true for me.
Yeah.
The truth is, I still need to work my 9 to 5, and even though I was on holidays when I made those promises, ugh, whoopsies, forgot about that thing. Still need to do, whatever it is for you, school activities, or you're a coach after hours, or you're whatever. The things that you were able to fit in while you were on holidays and everyone was enjoying this vibe and this momentum of, new year, new me, actually is no longer quite as colorful because all of these other things are taking away my petals and the rest is a bit wilted.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that raises a really key question of when does persistence become self-betrayal? You know,
Oh,
when it's a
oh,
heavy one, I should have given a warning.
oh,
But it's
yeah.
it raises that question because how long do I stick with something before I recognize that there is a reason that I haven't been able to fit this in before.
Yeah. Do you know, I wonder whether, though, you're going back to your original point, which is why did I think this could be my priority?
Yeah.
What was missing for me when I decided this is what I needed to focus on? And and how do I tackle that as the real question here instead of going, like all of us do, I've got a solution before I've actually been diagnosed.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm got all in, but I'm not even sure what it is I'm trying to treat. And I wonder if that's not the truth of it. That and you talk about it, that persistence and self-betrayal layer. I think we will always feel something. Anyone who's played any sport, or probably just most people, will feel something about the word quit anyway.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this in an episode before, but it builds this sense inside us that says, I've obviously got something unfinished. And that's untrue. That's not true of the context of quitting. So so maybe we do make it harder on ourselves when we put the emphasis on it being a calendar year event, or we put the emphasis on it being a resolution of sorts. But the reality of quitting shouldn't be about quitter's day, and I know we jest, but shouldn't be about quitter's day. It should be about all of the other days of the year compounded into this moment for me in time. How did they contribute to the decision I now need to make?
Yeah.
Whether it's a fitness goal or whether it's an athlete trying to determine whether this is another season or a last season, or a referee going into the year going, "Can I keep doing this job?" Or is this, am I
Yeah.
done here? Um, maybe we're putting too much emphasis on timing, the moment in time, the point in time, the captive audience we all become because of New Year's Day and what it's meant ritualistically for a long time now. Um, and instead, maybe we go back to what we said in our Christmas episode about reflection. Maybe we need to be more reflective of the 365 days prior and what were they telling us that we need here.
Such an important way to frame it. Really is.
Yeah.
You think about as an athlete, it becomes ingrained in you because you're taught don't give up, never quit.
Mm,
And that
mm,
kind of terminology like never quit, it's so definitive, the word never and the word quit. And
yeah.
it has so much negativity around it that I think a lot of the times athletes struggle with the feeling of if I stop what I'm doing, I'm quitting, and quitting equals failure. And I'm an
Mm,
athlete and I do everything to not fail, you know? And so I
yeah.
like to frame it as growing into your next chapter rather than
Yeah.
quitting. You are taking on
Right.
board all of, as you said, all the other days of the year, you are taking on board all those experiences that you have gained and you are growing into what is going to be your next chapter rather than saying,
Yeah.
I'm quitting as something that is negative and ending.
Which I think leads very neatly into asking ourselves 3 questions as we head into 2026. So 3 questions I think any of us can benefit from, athlete or otherwise. What still gives me energy? I
Yeah,
mean,
definally.
right, right,
So
I'm
important.
already thinking about that as I say it. What is costing me more than I can afford? I'm not just talking in dollars and cents, but we're talking more broadly as well.
Keeping it real.
And if nothing Yeah, and if nothing changed this year, can I live with that?
Yeah.
And I wonder if we're true to ourselves in answering those 3 questions, athletes and others. We already know what 2026 holds. We already know whether this is just a New Year's resolution moment or whether it's true reflection, and we're able to release, renew, move forward, whatever it is that we feel like we need going into 2026. What I do know though is resets happen at any point throughout the year. I also know that we place too much emphasis on one day, one calendar day,
Yes.
that it is very easy to become one of the boats in the rapids, and we get caught up in it, and suddenly we're part of a discussion about new year, new me and a gym membership and setting ourselves up for whatever comes after that. But but in sport, it always feels like there are moments and milestones that we are forced to reflect, what's next for me? Am I still in this race? Or is this a time for me to start looking at it differently? And if you're at higher levels of sport, the world is already looking on, asking you. So you've been forced to think about it for a long time. But if you're at the almost pro and the elite and sub elite, but not professional levels, you're asking yourself lots of questions throughout the year, not just on New Year's Day.
So true.
So maybe New Year's Day is a bit of a time to give yourself reflection with reward that says, I did good for 365 days. I did good. And maybe I don't need another New Year's goal for 10 days while I roll into Quitter's Day.
Yeah. So important to just be still for a moment and consider those. That is a fantastic 3-question sort of reframe there. It's just a moment to be still and make sure that your head and your heart are aligned in the next decisions that you move forward with. Definitely.
Mm, mm. Totally agree. Should we this or that each other?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do this. You know what? This or that for the first time in 2026. Let's hit it.
Let's go. All right. Resolutions or intentions?
Intentions.
Nice.
Intentions. Motivation or structured systems?
Oh, that's tough.
Like
Motivation.
it.
Okay. Fresh start or honest reset?
Or honest reset. Get real
Definitely.
with me.
Yep.
We both know I'd love that. Just hit me harder.
Yeah.
Whack. Straight in the eyes. It's time to move on.
Absolutely.
Love that. I love that. One more year or one last shot?
You're asking some tough ones here.
Mate, it's a new year. We're pensive. This is what we do.
One last shot.
Yeah, I like that too. It's something I think we underestimate how long a year can be,
Yeah.
especially for an. It's a lot of games, a lot of matches, a lot of whatever sport you're in. It's a lot.
Yeah. If I've got anything
What do you think?
unfinished, I feel like I'd want to do it just one last shot and then I'm
Yeah,
good.
have a hit out, make it go away. You got this.
All right. Identity in sport or identity beyond sport?
Beyond,
I think that's so
beyond. But
important.
I think it would depend which phase you're in.
It's
Because I
true.
think if I was in sport right now, I might have answered differently.
That's true. That is
All
true.
right, your very last one. Public announcement or quiet decision?
Quiet decision. I'm a big
Yeah.
advocate for listen to yourself and
Yeah.
not the voices around you. Take advice from voices around you, but ultimately your decision. Quiet
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, take the advice and then cleanse it in your own soul.
That's it, you know?
Yeah, preach. Love it. Well, that was fun, Laura. Thanks for playing the first this or that for 2026.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Whether this year is about chasing something, changing something, or closing a chapter, it all counts. Sport teaches us how to commit, but it doesn't always teach us how to stop. So if today feels like a day that brings you clarity to reset, recommit, or release, go for it. But if it doesn't, you're much like many others, and your reset, recommit, or release can and will happen on any other day of the year. Happy New Year, everyone. We're looking forward to 2026 with you, with or without your resolutions. And don't forget to kick off the new year by making sure you never miss an episode by following and subscribing. And reach out or send your friends our way if you think they'd enjoy telling their Almost Pro story by heading over to almostpropodcast.com or our social media pages at Almost Pro Podcast to get in touch.